Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Happy and Healthy. I'm your host, Janina Mapola, and welcome back to the podcast. I post these every single Tuesday, and I'm excited to be back. And if you are not watching the YouTube video, then you don't know who's sitting next to me. Well, maybe they do from seeing the title, but I have my roommate, my best friend, and what else?
I don't know.
My confidants.
We were partners in life.
Now,
Now I'm having to, I am very excited to get married, but
yes,
we've been talking through what that's going to be like, so.
Yes. So if you guys don't know, you probably do, though, but this is Madison Prewett, and we've been living together for about a year and a half now, which is so crazy. And, like, I feel like last year at this time, it was the craziest month. Like, no, October was.
October
was when, like, your book happened.
October is just the month because now
It's the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't announced
I
anything
haven't
yet.
announced
Okay, well, I don't want to be the one that spoils it. But I'm really excited for today's episode because in today's episode, we're just going to kind of do a recap of just, like, what living together has been like. We haven't done an episode together in, honestly, a while. The last one we did was probably right when we moved in together.
We probably had blonde hair.
Wasn't the vibe or the look.
Wasn't the vibe.
We both learned our lesson just to stick to
Grant wants me to go back blonde.
Really?
Yeah, just to try it out.
Talk to him.
Just to try it out.
You can put a wig on.
I know. I'm like, just for a second, babe.
But yeah, we're really excited because the last one was more of a topical thing and it did really well. We're really excited you guys got blessed by that one. But this one's more of just kind of a catch up and then just kind of asking Maddie some questions and then giving you guys just advice and some wisdom and some of our thoughts on just like how to live well, how to be good friends during a crazy season of life because as we all might know, Maddie is engaged.
I am. It's about that time.
It's in addition to this podcast from the last time. From the last time when we filmed a podcast.
Oh gosh, we were in such different places in our lives.
Such different places. I was like newly talking to someone, and Grant wasn't even in the picture.
Grant wasn't in the picture. I was single as single could be.
Yeah.
Dealing with heartbreak.
But we all know that men loved you. Men in Dallas were trying, and outside of Dallas too.
Oh goodness! But I found the one.
Amen. So yeah, life has been really, really crazy since then. And how are you feeling since being engaged? Because you've been engaged for what, almost 2 months?
July 31st. So yeah, a month and a half. That's crazy. I feel great. It's been honestly kind of a whirlwind. I mean, you've seen me. I've been going like in and out of the house all the time where I'm not even here at all. Grant actually had to get hip replacement surgery at 26 years old, and the doctor was like, this isn't very common. Usually you're about 75 getting a hip replacement. So, you know, it's been a little crazy planning for a wedding and looking for a house and, you know, a bachelorette party and then the hip replacement. So it's definitely been kind of a whirlwind of a season, and we also wanted quite the short engagement. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it kind of just compacts everything to where, you know, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made, a lot of pressures, a lot of emotions. But honestly, I wouldn't change anything. It's been really special. And I feel like it's honestly brought us so much closer and bonded us in a way that I think if I had chosen to do the season differently, it maybe wouldn't have bonded us in that way. So I'm super grateful for it, but it's definitely been, I think I've had a couple breakdowns to you.
Just a couple. I've definitely seen some, but that's when you know, like, crap is hitting the fan or, like, you're really overwhelmed because Maddie, just fun fact, you don't really cry. And if you do, you don't like to show it to people very much. That's something that I think since living together, we've worked on.
She's helped me become more vulnerable and empathetic, and you know, I was the girl that honestly had a really hard time letting people in. I think I'd been so burned that I felt like if I had up these walls that it would protect me and keep people from hurting me. But I realized that, you know, having up those walls doesn't just keep out all the bad, but it also keeps out all the good because you're not really living life to the fullest. You're not experiencing the true depth that relationships can bring, you know, bringing people into those vulnerable spaces. I had to learn that with Grant. I've had to learn that with Janine. But yeah, you've really helped me a lot in that. We've grown a lot since, what was that, March of
2021. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and I would definitely say that you've helped me learn to have more discernment with people, but then also like learning how to have healthier conflict or how to stand up or not to bottle things up, because I've just seen you have so many hard conversations with people, and it's like that's being mature, that's being an adult, that's also like having godly healthy conflict is instead of just talking behind the person's back, being like, I'm going to go straight to the person and just say, like, that hurt my feelings or whatever. Yeah. And so it is really cool because everyone does say that living with someone really does prepare you for marriage. So
it does.
What are some, like, other ways that you feel like us living together has helped prepare you for marriage?
Oh, my gosh. So many things. I mean, I think that for the longest time before, you know, I started dating, especially before I started dating Grant, but even while dating, it was like, you were just like my person that I ran everything by Janine. Like, I'm like, hey, I got this going on. Like, what do you think? Or, hey, I'm going to leave the house for a couple hours. I'll be back. And we still kind of do that. Just, I would say like our communication, I think it really taught me how to communicate with someone else and not, you know, when you're living with someone and, you know, especially now that I'm about to be married, it's like communication is so important.
Gosh, it's everything.
It's everything. And so I'm like, I want you to know how I feel, where I stand, what I have going on. Like, this is what I have this week. This is what I have today. This is what you can expect from me. I feel like we do a really good job of that and just getting on the same page as far as scheduling goes and, you know, what we have going on throughout the week. So I would definitely say communication has been a big one.
I would 100% agree. And I would just say it's like you do have to learn the little nitty-gritty communications of like, hey, can you put away your dishes? Or, hey, we're out of paper towels. Or like, it sounds so dumb, but that is marriage. It's like your husband's at the store. Hey, can you go pick up, you know, this random little thing?
Yeah.
And it definitely does help, prepare just to communicate. The things that you wouldn't expect to have to communicate, you do. So it's actually fun. Like every single morning, if we're both in the living room, we're having our quiet times or whatever, we're both like, hey, what do you have going on today? And we like know each other's schedules. So we kind of know where to be flexible, but then also to be like, okay, I'm going to leave and give her some space. If she has an interview, I'm going to go in my room, whatever. So I just think it's little things that some people could build up resentment or they could be like just getting angry and because they never said anything. So that's why, you know, really it is preparation for marriage.
Yeah. No, communication has been huge. And then I would just say, you know, the joy of like having your person with you, you know, like, you know, obviously that's about to be Grant, but that's been you for the past year and a half. I know.
Don't make me cry. I literally
starts crying immediately. We have every time I've ever mentioned that or she mentions that, we just start crying.
We just look at each other.
We'll be on a plane. We'll be in the living room in passing. Like, just
I always
mention
look at her.
one little
I'm like,
thing.
Don't do it.
Weeping.
Don't do it.
But no, it really has been so special. And honestly, I don't know that I've really ever had like a roommate situation like that where it was like I was living with my best friend and it was that relationship where, you know, I could come home if I'm having a bad day, I can go into your room, I can cry, she'll pray over me, vice versa, and just like, hey, I want to wear this outfit, what do you think? Like, I'm going on a date night tonight, like, what do you think? Do you like this outfit? And that's been just so special to have. And I think, of course, like not living with my like girl best friend it's gonna be so hard. I feel like I'm gonna be like, Grant, what do you think about this outfit? He's gonna be like, great. I'm gonna be like, no, you're supposed to tell me that.
Pick it, babe. I don't know.
Like, no, you're supposed to point out all the things. But no, I definitely think that has been such a massive component, especially when we first moved in. And our lives, I feel like we're just so in tune with each other, and we were traveling everywhere together.
Gosh,
we were doing everything like in Dallas together. Just like we were on the same schedule in life. That was like before my book came out and started dating someone and everything. But, you know.
Yeah, life was crazy. When we moved here, the ball was just rolling. And we like felt like we couldn't catch our breath, but it was so fun at the same time. And so, you know, now we're in a different season. And I think when people see us moving in together, they're like, oh my gosh, this is like the perfect dynamic duo. But I think something that I do want to talk about in this podcast is like how seasons change. And inevitably, they're always going to change and how that can feel really scary. And so even us moving to Dallas, like that was a season change for both of us. We both moved to a new city again. Yeah. And that was really scary because when I moved back, I had friends here, but I wasn't like, I didn't have really like best friends. And like, you didn't know anyone really besides.
I didn't know a soul. I literally knew Janine and like 2 other people, but we weren't close.
Yeah, exactly. So we were like, okay, we know people. And then we had our birthday party. And like, it was at that birthday party that literally our whole friend group formed. It's crazy. Like, you invited 2 different people. I invited like Danny and Olivia. We all like met each other and they became best friends or friends. And that's like what we're in now. And so that was a season where it was like, go, go, go. And like, you writing your book and newly dating someone. I was dating someone. And it was so crazy, but now we're in a different season where your life is like so fast paced. I would say mine has actually slowed down a little bit more, and you're engaged and you're planning a wedding and you're about to move out. And I don't know. So it's like, how do we handle seasons changing, and how do we handle not being like moping around about it, you know?
I think one thing that, you know, is so special about Janine and I, like our friendship, and, you know, something that I'm hopeful that everyone has, at least like that one friend, that you can truly learn to cry with each other and celebrate with each other. And no matter if your season of life looks similar or different, being able to celebrate the other person, being able to be there for the other person. And I think one thing that has spoken a lot to me in this season is like how incredible of a friend Janine has been. And, you know, you've had kind of a lot going on and been dealing with a lot the past few months. And you've been such an incredible friend just to, you know, put that aside and really celebrate me well and be there for me. And I know it's meant so much to Grant and I. And she was pretty much the mastermind behind the whole engagement operation, and I was shook that she was such a good liar, because she's actually so like hard. She's the worst liar ever. And so I was like, oh my gosh, how did you pull this off? Because I mean, we live together, I see her all the time, and you know, she got so good at lying.
It was so freaking hard though, because I live with you. And so I just told her, I was like, stop asking me questions. Like, you're not allowed to ask me any questions because I'm going to accidentally blurt it out. Like, I literally cannot keep a secret.
Okay, but tell the dress situation, because that's when I was like, oh, I'm not getting engaged this weekend.
Yeah. Okay, I guess some backstory, because I do think a lot of people looked at your engagement and they're like, how did she know to put the dress on?
Oh, yeah. So I found this dress that I loved, and I was like, I want to get engaged in this dress. And so I told Grant that, and he was like, okay, give your dress to your best friend. So I came home, I put it in Janine's room, and I was like, okay, like, that's the dress. So whenever I'm getting engaged, like, you know to, like, show up with the dress, whether you're with me or whether you meet me there, like, and however which way. Because I told Grant, I was like, I want Janine to be there. So I knew she was going to come, whether she surprised me or whether she was already with me. And so I gave her the dress and went about, like, I forgot about it, went about my life. And then we actually were on a trip. We were both speaking at a conference near Miami, Florida. And so we went on a trip, and actually a bunch of our friends ended up coming. And we went and had a great time, and I was like, oh, this is just a great trip. And Janine ended up like faking a brand deal.
Yeah.
And I fully fell for it. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, this amazing hotel is giving us a brand deal. Like, could it get much better than this?
Photoshop, like, it was insane. Photoshopped DMs from the hotel, like us exchanging it back and forth, and them being like, we want one post and one story and one vlog. And I was like, great. Like, totally faked it. And I would never in my life get a brand deal with this hotel, because it's a stunningly nice hotel.
It's a very nice hotel. And I remember pulling up and being like, oh my gosh.
And she was like, this is my dream. Oh my gosh. And I was like, I know, because your freaking boyfriend set it up.
So we pull up and we're going about, I mean, she's vlogging and everything. So I'm like, okay, like, this is just a normal trip. And we're staying in the same room together. And she like opens up her suitcase and she's like throwing things out, and she's like, what do I want to wear? And I didn't see the dress in there, so I was like, okay, I'm obviously not getting engaged.
I purposely did that. And like, so, purposely would like have the suitcase just wide open, like clothes flying. I'm like, Maddie, do you want to try this on? Look, what do you think about this thing? And I would just go through all my clothing.
Like, I was like, I was so mad. And I'm looking through all the little like closets in the room, and I'm not seeing the dress anywhere. And so I was like, okay, I'm obviously not getting engaged. And that night we had planned on celebrating one of our friends' birthdays. And so we got dressed up and we were like, let's go get pictures on the beach. And it's literally time for us to like walk downstairs. And again, she didn't hand me the dress. And so I was like, okay, I'm obviously not getting engaged unless they forgot about my dress and I'm just going to have on this dress. And so we walked downstairs, and that was actually when we got down, we went down the elevator. We got near like the bathrooms near the outside doors, and Janine was like, emergency, I have to go to the bathroom. I need you to come with me. And
I like literally yanked her in the bathroom.
Pulled me in the bathroom, and she just looks at me and she's like locked eyes with me. And she's just like, sweet girl. And I'm like, what? Sweet girl?
You've never said sweet girl.
I was like, I literally don't think I've ever heard you say
I grabbed her hand and I was like, okay, are you ready, sweet girl? But the reason I started panicking because her mom, okay, so backstory of how the dress got there. Maddie said, take the dress, pack it with you, whatever. I don't want to know that you have it. And so when she gave me the dress, I dropped it off first at Grant's mom's house, or at Grant's house. So I gave it to Grant's mom. And then I already dropped it off because I was like, done, yes, easy, done with the dress. Oh, then she texts me and she's like, hey, actually, I need to try the dress on one more time. I was like, I don't have the dress. So I literally speed back to Grant's house. I'm like, give me back the dress. And I like run back in, grab the dress, drive back home. Like I literally, Maddie was pulling up to the house. She's like, I can come try the dress on right now. I'm about to be home. So I made up a lie. I was like, I have to go run an errand. Jumped in the car, sped away, picked up the dress, turned off my location. I actually had turned off my location quite a bit.
I had no idea. I just was like, hey, I probably should try on the dress because I had to get it altered.
So much behind the scenes stress that you had no idea about. It was like kind of fun though.
Okay, so then you gave his
then I gave Mrs. Trout the dress, and I was like, hold on to this for dear life and bring a steamer, please. And so then she brought the dress and then gave it to your mom, and your mom and sisters were there in the bathroom. But there had been a miscommunication because I thought they were just going to be in the bathroom. They didn't tell me they were going to be in one of the stalls, and I was supposed to knock on the stall. And so I was in there just staring at Maddie awkwardly, and I was like, are you ready, sweet girl? And you're like, okay. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
And I started like pacing the bathroom, like thinking like, where are they? Where are they? I'm like, where are they? And so I literally almost like ran back out the room because I didn't know where they were. And then finally I saw your mom open the door, and then I was like, turn around. And then
I would have never known that you didn't like know what was going on, or that you were anxious or trying to figure things out. I mean, she seemed super calm and collected. But she did say sweet girl, and I was like, what? We've never called each other sweet girl. But yeah, she told me to turn around, and then my mom and my sisters were standing there holding up the dress. They were crying. I started crying.
I cried.
I mean, everyone was crying. Janine started filming it, and then her and I had actually had a moment, and she was like weeping, and she was like, this is the moment you've like been waiting for. Like, go get your man, you know.
Yeah, so your man's outside.
Yeah, and then we hugged and we were crying. So it was so special. But that's how I got the dress. I knew what I wanted. I gave it to Janine, and then all the things in the background were happening that I had no idea. But yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was amazing. Like literally the best day. And it was just so fun knowing that you were so surprised. And also this was funny too. And then we can change the topic. But the day of the proposal, the Lord told you. Because we were in the hotel room. She's acting so weird. She's taking her sweet time, doing her makeup, her hair. And then you went away after showering, and you just sat in the living room, and you were just sitting there, like, eyes closed, your hands were open, you were praying. I was like, she's taking a little longer in her quiet time. And I'm like, who does a quiet time before dinner? And so that's when I knew. I was like, she freaking knows. And then what did you think?
So I really had no idea. I had nothing to go off of except this like feeling, and I couldn't shake this like feeling. I was like, oh my gosh, like what if I'm getting engaged tonight? But then I kept trying to talk myself out of it. I was like, no, I haven't seen the dress. Grant was actually really sick.
Yeah.
And so I had just talked to him like a couple hours before, and he was coughing like crazy, sounded so sick. And so I was like, there's literally no way that he's here. And like, how would he have gotten here? We've been texting nonstop. There was never a time where he didn't text me back for like 2 or 3 hours. So like all the details in my mind were like, okay, there's no way that it's actually going to happen. So Maddie, you just need to let it go. But it was like the perfect place because I was like, this hotel is gorgeous.
Yes,
my
beach.
friends are here.
Yep.
And it just, the beach, I love the beach. And so it just would have been perfect. And so I just kept having this like feeling like, oh my gosh, like what if I'm getting engaged tonight? But I kept like trying to talk myself out of it. But as soon as she pulled me in the bathroom, I knew it was happening. So before I saw Grant, obviously I knew I was getting engaged, but I only knew, like technically knew, I guess like 5 minutes before.
Yeah. Which was so fun. I was just like stoked that we all pulled it off because we all were just lying.
Everyone pulled it off. That's
lying.
The thing. I was with like, there was what, like 7 of us, 7 or 8 of us, and no one gave anything away.
I know.
Like,
honestly, I'm so impressed that no one gave anything away. Like we would all look at each other and we would just know it was a lie and we'd be like, yeah. But you never caught on.
I literally had no idea, and so many things they had to like improvise in the like in the moment.
Yeah, like the day of, a lot of things actually changed, which was so fun.
But it was a really special time. I don't even remember how we started talking about that. Oh, but I was just, one thing that meant a lot to me was she actually had put this like video together and edited this video. It was like all these pictures of Grant and I and videos that he actually had made before. Like I had never seen them before, and he made them when we first like went on our first date, and kind of like throughout dating he had made these little videos, and then he sent those to Janine for Janine to put this little video together. And then a couple people couldn't be there. My dad couldn't be there because he was on a basketball trip, and a few others. Grant's dad couldn't be there. My best friend Erica couldn't be there. So she like worked on this video, put all of these things together, and we were watching it after we got engaged and just like bawling, crying. But just really, I mean, the whole weekend, like she went above and beyond. And I say all that to say, like, I think it's so special to have a friendship where when you're going through, whether it's you're going through heartbreak or you're going through a season of wondering like, God, where's my man? Or God, what is this going to look like for me? Or, when is she, oh my gosh, like she's going to move out of the house soon. Yeah. It would have been really easy for Janine to like make that about her and get like super in her head or super upset or super sad or in her feels. But instead she like really went above and beyond and just like celebrated me so well. And that meant the world to me. And so, I think that's one thing that I've learned in this friendship is just like how to really be there for each other and how to show up for each other. And this is going to be marriage, but it's like even when you don't feel like it, or even when, that person's in their, season where they're doing really well, or like, you name it, their podcast is doing amazing, their merch is doing amazing, and it would be easy for me to like compare my life stage to Janine's or vice versa. And I think we've just done a really good job of learning to champion each other on and cheer each other on and pray for each other. Yeah. And no matter what season, whether it's like good season or bad season.
Gosh, that's so good. I completely agree. And I think I've made some episodes on this, but, fun fact, actually, like I was a month out of a breakup, actually. And so that was really weird. It was like this weird dichotomy of like, I'm celebrating my best friend. She got this marriage, this thing that I also wanted. And at the same time, I'm going through heartbreak and processing this. And so that was really weird. But also I got to see you be there for me and support me and not belittle my feelings or not like overshine your stuff just because, I'm getting engaged, whatever. Like you got down to where I was at and was like empathetic with me because I would come home crying quite a bit. Actually more than quite a bit. And now I'm good, which is funny. Like now I'm in a really good space. It's been like 3+ months already, which is, can you believe it's been 3 months already?
Yeah, I mean, and she's just been thriving.
I'm thriving. Truly.
Like truly living her best life.
I made like a whole podcast on it and just how it's like a good real friend that is secure in herself and secure in her identity is going to want to go and celebrate her friend. Yeah. She's going to want to champion her friend because like your prayer requests become my prayer requests. And so it's not like I'm just like sitting there like, oh, God bless her. Yeah. Well, it's like, I want to bless her because that also like in turn, I feel like that blesses you by blessing others back. And so it was just really exciting to get to celebrate you and obviously hard at a lot of times too, where I wouldn't show the emotions of like, this really stinks. Like, you know what I mean? Like one of us is moving on and one of us is staying, but at the same time, that's like all I would want for you, you know? And it doesn't mean just because you're quote unquote moving on or going somewhere else that my season is like less than or worse or anything. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people can think is like, oh, she's moving on or she's moving the next thing or she got what I wanted. So my season sucks or my season's less than. And it's like, no, It's just different.
Yeah, I think that's something that, you know, I even had to learn right when I graduated college in Alabama. Everyone gets married at like 21, 22. So all of my friends were getting married, and I actually was coming at the time out of a breakup, honestly, very similar situation. And it's a really challenging place to be in when you're having to celebrate everyone else's high while you're at a low. Mm-hmm. And it really takes a lot of like character and strength and just grace that the Lord gives you to be able to put your feelings and emotions aside to really celebrate and make someone else feel loved, because that is their season that they've waited for and prayed for. I don't know. I'm like, in God's eyes, he doesn't see one season as more important than the other. But I think in our human eyes, we can tend to put more of a weight on one season more than the other. And I know, at least for me, when all of my friends were getting married when I was, 21, 22, and I was like the only single one, that was really hard, because I felt like, God, why am I in this season? Like, why are they getting this blessing and I'm not? Like, do they have something that I don't have? And it made me question my worth and what people saw in me, what guys saw in me. And I feel like that was really a time where the Lord started like stripping me and preparing me, even at 21, 22, to be where I'm at now at 26. And so I truly am like so grateful for that season. And I feel like, no matter what season you're in, like there's something to be learned. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm in a season where it hasn't been all roses and rainbows, even though I'm engaged. Like, it's still come with, some trials and tribulation, but I'm still learning along the way. And I think for you this season, you probably thought it was going to be, really, really hard for you. And I think that God's like put so many blessings in your life and just shown up for you in such cool ways. Mm-hmm. But there's still been trials and tribulations for you and things to learn. And so I just think whatever season of life you're in, like being fully present and maximizing it and seeing it not as like, oh, hers is better than mine or his is better than mine, but just seeing it as, okay, this is where I'm at. God, this is where you have me. Like, how can I make the most of this season?
Absolutely. I did make a whole podcast on this. If you guys want to listen, it's called What to Do When You Feel Like You're Falling Behind. But I just think, like, if you read Ecclesiastes 3, there is a season and a time for everything underneath the sun. And so just because her season looks different doesn't mean that, again, like mine is sucky or whatever. Like, I just believe that God really does want to teach us all something in the season. So it just depends on how you want to use it and steward it. And I don't know, I do think with time and maturity, because I'm 28 now, like, I've really become super secure in my walk with God. That I don't know. It's like, I don't gripe. I'm not like, God, why? Like, yeah, I've had moments of that, but I'm not like how I was when I was 25. Like, I can handle it so much better. I know how to celebrate people more because I'm just confident in myself. I'm confident in who God's made me to be. And I also just trust him. Like, I just trust him. Like, God, you took that away for a reason, and you're also giving Maddie this for a reason. And so it's cool because I don't know, it's instead of being inferior or jealous, it's just kind of getting to be happy for her and then just being also hopeful for what God has for me. And so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's going to be so special. But she made this comment to Grant the other day. What did she say?
Oh, how the schedules? Yeah. I told Grant, I was like, so Maggie and I like discussed the schedule. I'm getting her Monday through Friday, and you're getting her Saturday, Sunday.
He was like, I think not.
He was like, absolutely not. I was like, no, it's only fair.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, Janine and I have talked about, like, I'm like, I'm going to make sure that we are seeing each other like once a week, and all we are staying, in touch all the time. And obviously, yes, there's the practicality of things changing. I'm becoming one with someone and moving into a home with them and moving out of a home with you. But I think that, I don't know, it's like I get really excited about the future. I'm like, whenever Janine gets married and like we're able to do like these couple trips together and, hopefully, like, God willing, plan pregnancies together and like raise our kids together. I think it's so exciting. But I wouldn't trade anything like of how God has really just like set this up, and the years that we had as singles and the things that we taught each other and the way that we refined each other. And, there was a lot of like really hard moments throughout that, year and a half where we both were going through heartbreak and loneliness and unmet expectations and just struggling with, God, where are you? But we continue to encourage each other and pray for each other. And that's like what a friend does, you know, there's going to be moments where, you know, you feel like you can't take another step, and it's like that person literally like comes alongside of you, grabs your arm and walks for you. And we've both had those days and those moments, and I'm so grateful, and I'm just excited for the seasons ahead that, but I do think that change can be scary. And I know we wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I think for me, like, I never feared change. Like, newness never scared me. I've been in a lot of seasons where I was forced to get out of my comfort zone, and I was forced to step into something new. Whether it be moving to Dallas, whether it be going on The Bachelor, whether it be, you know, I went on a blind date with Grant. That's how we got started. I didn't even know him before. So whatever it's been, starting a new job, I mean, I think I've been forced out into the unknown multiple times where, you know, change can be scary, transition can be hard, newness can be overwhelming, but I think it depends on how you look at it. And I also think that, you know, when you keep the main thing, like, that's always constant, and that's never changing. And so even though your circumstances or your season of life may be changing, like the Lord says in his word, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. Like, never will I leave you or forsake you. Like, he is always there, and he is never changing. And I think that's one thing that I have continued to kind of like root myself in and abide in when I've had those seasons where it's felt like it's been hard to get settled or to really like adapt to the season of life, because whether it was so much newness or whatever, but I just continued to like remind myself, okay, like, my circumstances are kind of all over the place, but thankfully, like, my relationship with Jesus is constant and it's consistent, and the friendships in my life are constant and consistent. And I think those are two really big things that have been helpful even in this season of life when it's, such a good season. I'm engaged and I'm getting ready to be married, but there's been so many moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, so much is changing. I'm like, I'm about to,
I can't breathe. I'm like,
I'm like, wow, I'm about to be married. I'm about to be a wife. Like, am I prepared? Am I going to be a good wife? You know, and just thinking about, you know, I've never lived with a guy. I didn't have brothers. So like, I've never lived with a guy before. And I'm like, going to be learning what that's like, you know, and it's so many things. And so I'm just like, it's a lot of newness, and I've had moments of feeling so overwhelmed. And I think one thing that's been so helpful is definitely this friendship and just the friends around me that have constantly reminded me, like, this is who you are. God's got you. I know it's a lot, but like, you're so close to the finish line. You're about to be married. It's going to be so good. God's going to bless it. And just giving me those reminders. And then obviously just like my time with the Lord every single morning and throughout the day, just as that constant reminder, okay, Lord, like, you're the main thing. Matthew 6:33, seek me first above all else, and everything else will take care of itself. Like, Lord, I want to like make you my biggest priority, even in a season where there is a lot of change and a lot of transition that could be really scary and overwhelming. I just want to seek you first. And I know because of like, if I do that, everything else is just going to fall into place and take care of itself. So I really think that, you know, that's kind of a lot of our approach when it comes to change and transition, and hopefully that can bring some peace
That's so good.
You know, your heart.
You touched upon a lot of good things in there. That's so true, though. It's like, even though the seasons may change, because they always will, like, there's always going to be change, but I think that's the beauty of having God, is that he is the anchor for those seasons. And so even though, you know, you may fear the future, you may have anxieties, you may be like, I don't know what's coming, you can always lean on, like, I know who God is. I know what he already has done. I know I can depend on him. And so even for us, like, we don't know what, something could drastically change even more than we've ever expected, for good or for worse. And so, but the good thing is that we always know we can hold on to God throughout that season, and we don't have to fear because we know that he's in the future, you know? And so I also think that life would be kind of boring if seasons didn't change. Like, if it was always the same, I think we'd get bored. We wouldn't appreciate things. And so I know that there's that saying that's like, all good things must come to an end. And it sucks because you're like, why? Like, if it's so good, why does it have to come to an end? But I think when it does, and you can really look at it and be like, man, that was really sweet. And so I think when a season is ending, you want to look at it. What did it teach me? How did it refine me? What am I grateful for? And thank that season and say, thank you for what you were. And then you move on to the next and say, okay, now what am I hopeful for? What are my prayers? What do I want? What are my goals and dreams? And again, just lean on God during both of those. And so I think it's really cool because even though, we are so sad that we're not going to live together, And don't cry on me.
We will start crying. You guys will hear that.
It's just like, we never knew even living together, moving together, like how amazing it would be. We just kind of jumped in feet first, like, all right, we're living together. We had literally no idea. Like, I knew you, but I didn't know you.
Right. It could have gone so many different ways.
It could have gone horrible, and everyone would have known because our lives are so public.
Yeah.
But it went so much better than expected because we took a chance and we both leaned on God, and we, you know, sought to serve each other and to keep peace and to have healthy conversations and conflict, but support one another because we both have gone through so much stuff that no one has seen. And I mean, we've cried on that couch so many times. Prayed on that couch so many times. And so just because the season's ending, you know, doesn't mean that it's all downhill from here. It's uphill from here. It's just going to look different, and that's okay. And I'm excited, honestly. Like, I'm really excited to see what's to come. I'm excited to see you as a wife. I'm excited to see what God does for both you and Grant, for me individually with my house. Like, I'm excited. Yeah. Like, I just wish more people had that perspective of like, oh man, RIP to that season. It's like, yeah, RIP and thank you. Like, thank you and RIP, but thank you next. And so being expectant.
And that's the best mindset and attitude to have and carry no matter what season of life you're in, because as believers, like, we're called for our hope to be in the Lord, you know, and when our hope is in the Lord, then that means our hope isn't in our season. Our hope isn't in our circumstances. Our hope isn't even in other people. And so I think for me, that's one thing I'm so grateful for, because I look at this season and, you know, I could have had this anticipation. I did probably have this anticipation and expectation of what engagement season was going to look like. And I think it's been much different than what I thought it was going to look like. And I'm really thankful that I didn't have all this hope in engagement season, or all this hope in an engagement ring, or all this hope in even a husband or a marriage, because my satisfaction, my joy, my hope, my identity, my worth, my value doesn't come from any of those things. It comes from the Lord. And so I feel like that's one thing that we've continued to rely on. And honestly, you know, the lows are so hard, but it's what makes the highs so worth it. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like when you go through the seasons of heartbreak, and when you go through the seasons where choosing to not settle, even if it costs you something that's comfortable or something that's easy, you know, going through seasons where you have your heart shattered and someone betrays you or blindsides you or leaves you, you know, it's like, it makes it so worth it when you find that person and you're like, wow, you were so worth the wait. You were so worth the tears. You were so worth the prayers. And Janine and I have covered our future husbands like so many times. Yeah. And so as soon as Grant came into my life, and especially like once you got really good time with him, we both just like knew. We were like, that's it. Like, that's your husband. And it was so worth it, you know? And so I know that we would both like to, you know, encourage people that if you're in that season, like, it's never worth it to settle. It's never worth it to compromise, but like, you will always be so grateful for choosing to stand firm in what you truly believe, want, and value, and what you've prayed for and waited for. And it's going to be so worth it. Like, all the hard days are going to be so worth it when you find that person that you get to spend forever with.
Gosh, that's so good. I was literally going to touch upon like, how has engagement been, but also like, how was the wait worth it? And I think you did touch upon that. And it is so like, it's so amazing from a best friend when you get to see like, oh, I get a brother now. And Grant is literally the best. Like, y'all probably don't know him well, and he's literally the best. Like, you
gotta get him on this podcast.
I know. And he's so spunky and just full of life and joy. And he is an encourager. And like, if you were ever to settle, like, I wouldn't have let you, because we've both seen each other date guys that we were like, that is not it. And like, we have to say something, because it's like, that's not God's best, you know? And so when I saw Grant, I was just like, wow. And when I saw the way he continually served you, and then like deeply cared about me too, like, that matters so much to me, that it's not just like, here, I'm here to swoop your roommate, bye.
Like, he's like, asking you questions. Yeah,
it matters.
He cares
so
about your life, your heart. Yeah.
But also, like, you're in this really, really crazy season where we're just now getting a little bit more time together, because we've both decided to kind of cut back on traveling a little bit. And so we've been getting more quality time. But the last month and a half have just been
crazy,
absolutely bonkers. And I think something that I want to encourage people, and I say this to people, is like holding your friends loosely and like letting them do what they need to do. Because I think a lot of times people can get resentful, like, oh, she's moving on and she's too busy for me and she doesn't care about me and she's moved on to her man and whatever. And yeah, at times you can maybe feel like dang, like she's about to be married and move on with her life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like a loving friend and a good friend supports the person to take time apart to go do what they need to do. And so I hope I've been a blessing to you in that, because that's something, it's like, I don't want to be another burden to you when you're having to make thousands of decisions, thousands of phone calls. Like I see this girl so overwhelmed in this engagement season. And so just like getting to give you freedom to do what you need to do in this season.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I think also one of the beautiful things about friendship is having those people in your life where, you know, you might not, there might be some seasons where you're so crazy busy, or one person is so crazy busy, and so you're not getting a lot of quantity time. You're not getting a ton of quantity time together. But finding those moments to have quality time, finding those moments to really ask each other questions, to really, you know, how have you been? Like, where's your heart at? How's your relationship with the Lord right now? What's God teaching you? How can I be praying for you? Asking those questions to one another. And I would say, like, even in the midst of craziness, we've always done a great job of praying for each other and also calling each other higher. I mean, I think it was like 4 or 5 days ago, we sat out in the living room and we just talked through, you know, some things where we were both like, okay, maybe in this area you could be a little bit, you know, above reproach, a little bit better in that. And she's like, well, maybe in this area, you know, you could step it up here. And we got to just like call each other out and call each other higher in such loving ways of, hey, I see God's calling on your life, and I see, you know, what's inside of you. And I just want greatness for you. I just want the best. I want God's best for you. And because of that, that means that we might have to, you know, be above reproach and make sacrifices and make, you know, choices that may not be easy or fun or what everybody else is doing. But one thing I think we've always done a good job of is constantly call each other higher. I mean, since we first moved in with each other, like we've grown so much because we've just refined each other so much.
Yeah. Literally, like when I think of a kingdom friendship, like I genuinely think of this. And it was not even like we were sitting down being like, okay, how can we call each other higher? What can I call out on you? It was just like by being who she is and by being who I am in the conversations we have, that just spurred on this whole thing where we were like, wow, we need to do a little better. Like we need to be more above reproach and just double check this and that. And so it's just like daily conversations or weekly conversations I just think you guys should have with your friends of just being like, how are you doing? Like, where you need to grow? Like, it was just a conversation we just had that just challenged me. And I literally, after that, like, we always say that we want to hang out with people that make us look more like Jesus and also make us want to spend more time with Jesus. And like, literally after that conversation, I was like, I need to go journal and process, spend time with Jesus. And I like ran to my room and I did it. But that's like what you want to be around. It's like, you want to be around people that do that. And I know that doesn't come easy, but when you find it, you find it and you're like, thank God. And it's worth like working on and continuing to pray for that person and all that stuff.
And I think one thing too is that's been so huge for us is not comparing, you know, ourselves to one another, because I think what's so beautiful about the body of Christ and finding people, you know, that you can do life with is you're not going to be exactly the same, right? And so I think one thing with us is we're very different in a lot of ways. She's a 2 on the Enneagram. I'm an 8 on the Enneagram. But I think what's so beautiful about that is that we complement each other so well. And you're great at things that I'm weak in, and I'm great at things that maybe you're weak in. And I think that that's honestly been beautiful because she's been able to kind of help me grow in some of those areas that I've been weak in, and vice versa. And I think we've had to learn, instead of like comparing like, oh, I'm weak here and she's strong here. So like, why am I this way? I wish I was more that way. You know, I think we've learned through living together and just through maturing in our relationship with Jesus that, okay, we're all on the same team here. Like, we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. We're all trying to win people for Jesus. We're all trying to make a difference and love people well. And with that being said, you know, we're going to have areas, we're going to have blind spots and things that we can't see in our lives. And instead of like comparing or instead of like making that person feel bad about themselves, it's like we've really learned how to compliment each other well and to, you know, call each other higher in those areas where maybe we are weak, or, you know, some things where, you know, even she's had to be like, hey, like, I know you've been a little busy and your mind probably wasn't in the right place, but like you've left the dishes in the sink like 5 times. So can you please get the dishes in the sink? And it's
never a fun conversation.
Even little things like that, you know, it's like, oh, okay, like I never want to communicate to her that, you know, I don't care or that I just expect her to do it. But like my mind's probably just in a million places. And that's just a silly example. But, you know, there's been much bigger things as well that we've been able to really just be like, okay, I see this as a weak area in your life. I do feel like you could do better in this area, and I want to call you higher.
And we just constantly do that. And I think that's why I've been so thankful for the season. And it'll still continue. Like, we're still going to continue to do that. It's just going to look different.
Yeah.
And so.
Married Maddie, you know?
Married Maddie. Okay.
Married Maddie.
We're about to wrap up, though, but what are you most excited for?
Oh, my goodness.
Your season's like, life's about to change.
I know. I am so excited to marry this man. I mean, he is truly everything I've prayed for. And I mean, I'm blown away by how good God is and that he loves me so much to bring me someone like Grant. And so I'm so excited to just get to do life with him, to get to do ministry with him, to get to make a difference with him, to just enjoy life together. Like you were saying, you know, one of his greatest gifts is just joy and encouragement. And he makes me laugh like nobody else. And he just brings so much joy and life to my life. And so I'm just excited to see all the ways that just, I don't know, I feel like we're just going to complement each other so well. Yeah. And he's just going to make my life better and lighter and more fun and joyful, but also sharper and stronger and, you know, make my relationship with Jesus better. And so I just see it only as like improving and adding to my life in every way. I do think, of course, it's going to have its challenges. We're actually going through premarital right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we did this questionnaire thing where he had to answer questions on the questionnaire. I had to answer questions on the questionnaire. And then the counselor like puts them together and then talks through them and compares them. So scary. I know. And it was so funny because there was this one, you're going to die at this. There was this one that was like, have you ever broken up before? And I answered yes, and he answered no. And she was like, why did one of you answer yes and one of you answer no? And it made me think about the episode in Friends where
we were on a break.
But no, I know. It's just like, it's so cool getting to like see the different perspectives, and we're learning so much. You know, you're having to talk through family, finances, you know, just your expectations, communication, conflict, and all the things. And so it's been really, really helpful and good. And I think one thing that I've tried my best to do, even in this season of craziness, is, you know, prioritizing like getting ready for the marriage versus like prioritizing getting ready for the wedding. And so good. I want to come into this marriage, you know, full and abundant, and not coming in like just like dead and like I have nothing left to give because I gave my all for this wedding. And so I've really tried my best to put a team around me that can help me take care of like all the little details and things. And of course it's still been so time consuming, but I really want to do my best just in preparing, you know, to be the best wife that I can be. And I think that, you know, relationships expose and they reveal a lot. And so I think there's going to be a lot revealed, you know, in my life that I didn't even know was in there. I'm like, wow, there's, you know, selfishness and pride and fear and so many things in there that, you know, I probably am going to have to deal with once we get married. But I'm so excited. I think
the wedding's going to be amazing. It's going to be so amazing. I'm going to be on the dance floor the whole night. You already know.
We know. We know. Life of the party sitting right next to me.
Hello, President. Okay, you have a phone call right now, so we're going to wrap this up. But Maddie, you're the best.
You're the best. I love you.
We just hope you guys got encouraged by this, hopefully, and we just hope that, you know, you see that we are normal human beings. We're figuring this out just like you. We've had conflict, we've had situations, but we just do the best to refine each other, look like Jesus individually and together. And I'm excited for this next season for you. And, you know, she'll still be around, guys. Don't worry.
Don't worry. I'll be back on the pod. No, we will. We have honestly like so much I feel like to talk about, and so many more episodes to come. So it's going to be good. I'm like, I'll probably have so much more to share with you after being married for probably even just like a month. I'm like, give me a month and I'll have like a whole list of things.
I'm going to follow up with you on that.
It'll be good. But like Janine said, like we're not perfect. We don't try and like act like we are, but we just want to be real. And hopefully, you know, this was encouraging, and we're hopeful and prayerful that you can find, you know, that one or those two people that can really come alongside of you in whatever season of life that you're in. And just pray for you and encourage you and call you out and call you higher. Yeah. No matter if you're in a season of change or you're in a season that's kind of looked the same for a while. So Amen.
Well, that's going to conclude today's episode. Thank you guys for listening. Let us know if you guys enjoyed this. You can share the episode. Of course, you can always tag us. Our Instagrams are down below. And I'll see y'all later. See you guys next Tuesday. Bye.